So last week I had vacation time off from work, and I noticed that I had been putting a lot on my plate in regards to creative projects like singing and making music and dancing, all these things that I usually do, and I started to feel burnt out and even sad. So I decided that today I would just give myself a rest and just allow myself to move into actions that make me feel good. So lately it's been getting really dark, like early in the day, and so I only get to see the sun for a little bit of time, which gives me a lot of anxiety because it means I have to wake up at a certain time in order for me to get sunshine. And especially with like just being indoors all the time, like, there's no other way for me to get sun except through my windows or by going outside, but I haven't been feeling too energetic to go outside and like see people, especially with like the pandemic going on and like that whole new strain of virus out there. It's just I don't have the energy to do that, and I don't feel like pushing myself to do something that requires that much energy. Something that I really prioritize into my schedule is yoga and stretching. So this is one of my favorite poses to do. I really like that it stretches like my back, and it helps me just like reposition my body, because most of the time I spend just like hunched over, and I notice that I have a lot of pent up emotion residing in my lower back. Well, it feels really good to just allow myself to stretch out my body, especially because I keep in a lot of things that I need to say and things that I need to feel. And the only way that I let those things out lately is just by stretching my body and by doing pole dancing. And then after my little yoga session, I felt really heavy. I don't know, like just stretching my body released some sort of really intense emotions. It was just like a mixture of anxiety and sadness. So I decided to grab my bowl, my crystal bowl, and just like listen to the sounds of it and just relax into that sound. You should have seen me. Before this, I could not get off of my mat. I was literally in like a child's pose and like just weeping into the mat. And the poem that I'm reading is Twilight. Twilight. Those days were just the twilight, and soon the poems and the songs were only associations, edged with bitterness, focused into pain, by paintings in a minor key, remembered on warm nights, when he made love to strangers. He would struggle through old words, unable to forget he once created new ones, and fumble at their breasts with broken hands. When finally he did become very old, and nights were cold because no one was a stranger, there was little to do but sift the years through his yellow fingers. Then, like fire twisted shadows of dancers, alternatives would array themselves around his wicker chair, and he regretted everything. This is Marina Del Rey by Memories from Memories I Must Sleep. Reckless driving on a cold Wednesday night, chose death, close chance over lover's surrender. You swam in my deep blue sea, so deep you couldn't breathe, deep as the wounds on my skin. It was hard for you to let me in. My sweet boy, you should have read my poems closely. I guess it's hard to love me when your reality falls apart. One spring you'll remember my waves, and you'll look across the shore, only to feel nostalgic for our embrace. Nostalgia, what a cruel thing they say, sentimental for a mad woman who loved you no matter if you did or didn't stay. On Marina Del Rey, where I left my shoes, and the waves took my suffering away. And the last one is A Fever in Spring. Sunlight falls on plant cells and bounces on your lips. With your gold heart dangling, your hair shades me like a beetle, placing a seed on my lips. Oh, how your kisses have improved. Practice love to save you. Poet, artist, musician, lover of all things. I'm a lover of life, jack of all trades, if you wish to define me. I walk a tight path, gentle tiptoes on your brick walls. A man of knowledge, philosophy, and rage. You always had a sharp tongue and knew how humans behave. My soul lives in your Polaroid photographs, sepia and dusty, figures unrecognizable but lovely. My old love, I owe you my songs. My old love, I owe you my songs. You can keep every penny. I live free on fruitful deserts, and barefoot I walk in your dreams. When I wrote Fever in Spring, I think I was looking back at how I used to really like this guy, and it was a kind of first soulmate love, and we used to go to the garden, and we would lie down under the tree and just stare at the leaves. And he had this really long, dark, black hair. He didn't really know how to kiss, so I had to teach him. And he studied philosophy, and he was very knowledgeable, but not that wise. But a lot of the stuff that I started with when it comes to poems, they were all inspired by him. I love Marina Del Rey, like the beach. I have a lot of really good wild memories from there. I used to have this friend who would always take me to Marina Del Rey, and we would go to every single bar along the shore. Eventually, every night, I really didn't know how I would come home, but I would just wake up and the next day I'm here in bed. And I guess I was very nostalgic at the time of writing this poem because I actually don't talk to this person anymore. I have no idea if they're alive or dead or they've ghosted me. And when it comes to Leonard Cohen, my favorite was Twilight because the way that he expresses paintings, for example, this line he says, "Focused into pain by paintings in a minor key, remembered on warm nights." And that the day that I bought this book and I read that poem, I had to come back to this book that I wrote because I wrote something so similar. It almost it was very shocking to me. It's the poem that I wrote was in 2018 and it's called Painting by Moonlight. I wrote this in October 23rd. And so the poem goes, an orchestra squeezes into my ear. It's crowded in there, shifting the bodies from the lighted corners to the darker ones, beating in the dance of brushstrokes and its own independent person. Fear overwhelms the painting process. The faces of them appear, not in the linen, but in the dark spaces of the blue room, in the crevices of my cerebrum. Oil will always mix with water. Blue will always mix with red. I think I can hear him calling me, muttering in high-frequency sounds. My thoughts are banging drum. The colors keep their vibrancy. Please help me find peace. And when I wrote that poem, I was working on this painting at the time, and I was going through like a hypomanic phase, like the first ever one that I experienced that year. It was very difficult for me because I was seeing a lot of visuals and hearing things, which is why I say the orchestra squeezes into my ear, because when sometimes I would paint, I would not listen to music, and as I painted, I would go about 3 hours painting nonstop in my room. And as I would look at the palette and all the colors on it and painting on there, I would sounds very silly. I would look at the colors and I would hear sounds coming from the colors as I would touch the paintbrush onto the palette and put it on the painting. And I didn't really know how to express it at the time, so I said orchestra squeezes into my ear. Maybe I should have said palette. There is an orchestra on my palette. The muttering of high frequency sounds and thoughts are a banging drum. That is the expression I would say when I would hear things in my ear coming from the paintings. I I was working on this painting um that I have on the ceiling. It is I made a painting out of the Dante's Inferno. It is the one with this couple, and they're in the sky. They're in the they're in hell, and the woman, she has a bullet hole in her chest, and behind her is her man. And as I was painting that, I spent a lot of nights awake. I would not sleep at all. Sometimes I didn't even need like coffee or anything to stay up those nights. And that went on for about, I don't know, like 2 weeks or something. Um, but I would just have these crazy sounds coming from the painting, and sometimes I would hear it coming from the house and from the walls. And the colors keep their vibrancy. Painting when you're hypomanic, it is like when you take LSD. Everything is so vibrant, and the colors on my palette and the colors on the painting, even sometimes when I would go out onto the street, whether it be day or night, the colors were amazing. It is good to close this book after reading these and talking about it, because this is a part of my life that I want to let go of, and I'm glad I wrote it down, and it's something that I could just like shut, and like put down and say, that's it. And then when I wrote this book, I guess I was relishing and remembering my old relationships and friendships, and how they built this poet in me. And I always come back to these poems now, just so that I get better at at writing, because these are so bad. And how I said before, it feels very good to put this book down and to say no more, like, no more am I gonna go back to Marina Del Rey and think about this man. I just watched the video of me reading my poems, and I am really weird. First off, I want to say that I need to train my voice so that it projects, because I talk really soft. And I need to go back to Toastmasters, because when I'm reading poems, it's like when you go to school, when you went to school as a kid, and you were in class, you guys were reading the textbook, and you guys are doing that popcorn reading, and they're like, all right, it's your turn. And you're like, oh shit, it's my turn to read. And you're reading, and it sounds very robotic, like there's no soul inside of you, because it's been sucked out of you when they picked your turn to read. And it kind of sounds like that, even for the poems that I personally wrote myself. Like, it's just, yeah, it's terrible. And then something else is that I need to fucking fix my posture, because I'm sitting like this right now, like a hunchback, throughout the whole video. And I should have been like, like this. And it feels very uncomfortable to me when I sit like this, because I never sit like that. Like, oh God. Uh, what else? I guess one thing that I did like from the video is that I something it was something that I said about these books. I said it feels very good to put them down, to have written all of these poems out, and to have them in a physical book form, and to put them down. And I even slapped down the fucking book. uh but that is a very good way of releasing old relationships and old feelings and emotions, and it's another way of healing. And now I am moving on to painting. I have a love-hate relationship with painting because painting kind of triggers a lot of feelings for me. So if I'm not careful when I paint, if I don't schedule my time properly when I'm painting, if I don't eat after I paint for like hours, I will trigger a hypomanic or depressive state. And it's not for me to decide which one I'm gonna trigger. It just, pops up out of nowhere. But sometimes painting can be very healing for me because depending on what I'm painting, it will feel like I'm expressing a part of me I don't express to others. Sometimes I'll be thinking about something that had an effect on me, good or bad, and I will think about that. I'll analyze things that I'm learning about in philosophy or personal development or spirituality as I paint, and I'll just lean into the whole idea of what my body is or who I am as a person, and what am I in this world, and my life purpose and stuff. And then sometimes I just paint and I have a soft brain and I don't think about anything. I just enjoy the moment. So after I finished painting, I didn't record this, but I went to go eat something small before I started playing guitar. Music has been very good for me. I really like to write about things that I'm going through and that I want to process and then let go of. I like writing songs about relationships so that I can just start the healing process, and just let go of all that bullshit. And then this is me after I finished playing guitar. Honestly, I felt so burnt out after that. I was like, you know what? I need to fucking lay down and just like do some breath work or something because honestly, my hypomania skyrocketed and now this is me all the way down. So yeah, this is what it looks like when you follow around a bipolar person and let them run wild with all their creative projects. No, but seriously, I am okay, and I've been through it for a couple of years, and I'm really starting to understand how to take care of myself and learning what my triggers are and learning to read my body and just allow myself to feel and allow myself to just be aware, you know? So now I'm just holding in my breath for as long as I can. Breathwork has been such a good coping tool for me lately. It's just been really good. Like, it's the only habit that when it comes to spirituality that I've been able to keep. I don't really like meditating, but you know, if you told me to meditate right now, I could do it. It's just that breath work is a lot easier. It's a lot more fun and it's more engaging. You guys should really try it out. So, this is reaching the end of my video. Not the end of the day though, because I'm still gonna do crazy shit like finish my painting, make some memes, just random creative projects that I have on the side that I don't show people. If you've watched this whole video, congratulations. Come over to my house and I will give you a gold star on your forehead. I don't think anybody ever mentions this, but damn, the worst part about having all of these creative projects is putting shit away. Bro, come on. I hate putting all that shit away. Oh my god.